This is Authors Piss in Parks.
Before we go any further, the point of authors pissed in parks is that authors meet in a park and they get drunk while they talk about books.
Brian is drinking a 2016 Pinot Noir from Oyster Bay, in a bottle. Claire is drinking Bundaberg rum and cola, in a can.
I'm Claire Fitzpatrick, and here...
I'm Brian Craddock.
We're both Shadows Awards winners.
For those who don't know what a Shadow Award is,
here we go.
This little guy here.
Apparently, because Brian's a bit shadowy. I mean, you should avoid him in parks. It's a bit creepy.
The Continuum Awards were held in Melbourne.
Yeah, speculative fiction convention.
And within the convention was held the Australian Shadow Awards.
It was the first kind of public awards, which is really cool. Generally, it's just online, but it was really cool to have that kind of space and have actual attendees and have the kind of ceremony that was broadcasted.
So it's good for Australian authors, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a nice little sort of convention for them to come to and meet and network and...
Yeah. So we have that, and we also have Conflux in Canberra. But it's really good for people who just want to meet with other authors, just want to have a chat and get to know other people's work. So it's pretty cool. And watch a few panels and stuff. Yes.
Is it still going?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, cut that bit out. I heard a beep and I thought it stopped. Oh, is it your phone?
Yeah.
You were on some of these panels.
I was. It was just pretty exciting.
And you also won an award, one of these little bad boys there.
I did. I mean, it looks just like me. I mean, look. This is actually sculpted out of my image.
Fair enough. Yeah, he does have your nose, I guess. Now you won your award for a book called The Body Horror Book, yes?
I did. As I said in my long rambling speech, because I was like, what the fuck is happening? Basically, I just got a bunch of authors from 3 different countries, said, I'm putting this book together. I want interviews, I want personal essays, I want essays about movies, books, whatever you think has to do with body horror. I had like so many people involved, and Brian here was involved as well, which was pretty cool.
Oh, well, I wrote a chapter about Clive Barker, being a Clive Barker fan, and how it related to body horror, which was, it's expanded from Hellraiser to Nightbreed to even his short stories like, The Body Politic. That was a nice little coup, not just for you and your press, but for criticism of horror, or rather the critical look at horror.
It did. So we had a lot of people from the UK, from America, from here, from Japan, New Zealand, which is really cool, and Tasmania's a country, right? I mean, that's
How many of these Bundy rums have you had?
Nothing. None.
So body horror, for those who don't know, it's quite a gory genre of horror, isn't it?
It is, but it's sort of, I find it's more about, biological horror, about us as humans and what scares us and what makes us people. And humans are terrifying when you think about it, what we can do. But it's still quite niche in a lot of magazines. And it's sort of just about how we interact with society and ourselves as people and how we fit in. If you think about it, like, humans can be predators, they can be very monstrous. But, I mean, look at us. We're like a bunch of cool peeps sitting in the park.
We are?
So I think really the success of the book was getting a lot of people together who had so many different ideas, but it all kind of meshed well together. People had their own interpretations of what body horror is. And we had people who were writing about, like, what was it? The Singing Freaks of Andrew Lloyd Webber, from that to Cronenberg stuff to political kind of body horror.
There was a lot of variance, wasn't there?
Yeah. But I'm really interested in sociology and the way humans interact with the world around them. And I think as interesting as the way we interact with ourselves. And so what I wanted was a kaleidoscope of different kinds of things. Shit.
Interview's over. Taxi. What else do you write, Claire?
I write about you when you're asleep. I consider myself a speculative fiction author, but I also love to write paranormal fiction. Just kind of straight kind of horror. What is straight horror? I don't know. Creepy stuff.
You're primarily a horror author, are you?
Yeah, but I also love to write science fiction. But a lot of my science fiction has to do with body horror stuff.
And you have a press, yeah?
I do.
Oscillate Wildly Press is
You oscillate around.
Your house.
Yes, that's where I live. It's in this tin shed. It's in the shack.
It's a Smiths reference.
I love the Smiths. I have Johnny Marr's guitar pick. Originally, my novel Only the Dead was accepted by a small American publisher, but they ended up folding because, of course, they do. Whatever. And then I thought, a lot of people came to me to edit their stuff because they also, obviously edit stuff. And I'm like, why don't I just put it all together? And
so Oscillate will publish other people's work?
Yeah, of course. And I've got a whole bunch of stuff coming out. The latest thing is Peter Gates' poetry anthology that's out now. Strange Car in My Street. He struggles with a lot of mental health issues, and a lot of his poems are quite personal, but they're incredibly evocative. And a lot of them are about Brisbane locations and being in the valley and things like that, and his struggle with his mental illness. He never had anything published before, but when I received his manuscript, I was like, how? He's brilliant. And so I had a lot of help with Dominic Cohen, who's our poetry editor.
Let's Oscillate Wildly Press for you.
Okay, go.
We don't even have napkins. This is a terrible interview.
So
How can you get pissed in a park and not have napkins?
So back to...
Where's the production values on this thing?
So back to... Now to Brian.
Nightbreed's always been like an influence on me. Insofar as that I ended up with a story published in a sort of a tribute, a Nightbreed tribute anthology by Tor Books. I always sort of feel quite... almost by chance, I guess, my story got in. I'm not sort of saying that the story was no good, but I have read other stories that didn't make it that I thought really challenged the idea of both story writing and the Nightbreed mythos. Expanded on it and challenged it at the same time in ways that maybe my story didn't. But I feel blessed that I got in that, and it helped me to sort of mentally kickstart, I guess, a career in writing, where I'd always just sort of written for myself and never really done much with it. So from that, I've managed to move on to getting several other short stories published in various anthologies. One in yours, Petrified Punks, coming up.
It's going to be cool.
and there's a lot for an editor in Melbourne, Steve Dillon. I publish a lot through him, what I call my Richard DL stories, or the DL files. And then I got, and in amongst all of that, I finally got my debut novel off the ground. And it's one that I've been working on for a long time. Well, this was a novel that I had scrapped twice before, over the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
I mean, with it, obviously I rewrote the entire thing from scratch, used only the title and the place name of a building called the Prozac Palace. It's doing all right.
Well, if you like Brian's stuff, just check it out, because it's it is about him, growing up in the 90s. In Brisbane, and not just in Brisbane, that's sort of where it's set. If you're interested in kind of the Brisbane kind of politics in a way, and the subcultures, and just really quirky, cool characters. And I think a lot of us don't realise how many cool people are out there.
I mean, we try and make characters up all the time when we don't need to. They're all around us.
Just write about, I've mentioned a few times I spy on people on buses. I mean, if you're interesting enough, I will write something about you. But the good thing about Brian's book is that he put a lot of his own life into it, a lot of his own kind of thoughts and feelings, and his involvement in, the goth subculture. And
the book encompasses a lot about mental illness and homelessness and drugs and sexuality and self-actualization. I mean, there's no real one theme to the book. If I had to say there was a theme, it would be subcultural. It focuses on punks and goths. It focuses on Brisbane, and it focuses on mental health. So if you like any of those things...
if you have any of those
And don't forget, I also won one of these guys for a short story I wrote that had nothing at all to do with that book. So this has been an episode of...
My Drunk Authors.
Well, not My Drunk Authors.
Oh, just...
Authors Pissed in Parks. If you like, subscribe. If this is on YouTube, if it's not, I don't know, like the page if it's on Facebook.
Yeah.
If that's not where we are, I have no idea where we are.
Yeah.
We're in a park. Just like it, share it, and join in.
And remember, we are both award-winning authors, so you can trust us because we make up shit for a living.
We wouldn't lie.
We're professional liars. So
We lie, but we do it professionally. Cheers, big ears.
cheers. Cool.
Lonely and outcast. Half a bottle of wine.